and welcome to Best Way to Change the World, focusing mainly on what's happening in Forest Row, East Sussex, but we do effectively cover everywhere with the things that we talk about. And today I'm interviewing live Patricia Patterson-Vanegas, who is our district councillor at the moment, and Patricia's been getting very involved in local democracy and particularly what we are planning with regards to our parish council. We've got elections coming up soon, and she's being really helping us understand what the different roles of local government are, who represents us, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. But also, I want to find out more about, with the parish councillors, what do they do? Should we really care? And should we actually more of us be standing to be elected? I have to confess, I was a parish councillor in Forest Row for a while, not at the moment due to time constraints, but I really enjoyed it, and I do encourage people to think seriously about joining. So welcome to Patricia.
Thank you, Susie.
Your first time on the show. So to start with, tell us a little bit about, because there's a lot of people in Forest Row, and I'm sure this is typical of anywhere in the UK, whether it's the parish council in their village or in their town, they don't really necessarily know who's part of it or what they do. So from your understanding, as though you're talking as a district councillor, not a parish councillor, but what do you understand the role of a parish council is?
Well, Susie, before I jump into that, I think you're touching on something really important, and it is over 4 years. I have been a district councillor almost for 4 years now. I have found very few residents know who represents them. So the question that I ask people just as an experiment is, okay, you live in Forest Row, who represents you? What are the levels of government that represent you? And not a lot of people know. In fact, I didn't know 4 years ago, to be honest. So now I have learned that if we live in Forest Row, we have 4 levels of government representing us and delivering services for us. So we have the parish council at the most local level, then we have the district council, the county council, and then our member of parliament. And each of these councils deliver different services to residents, which is actually a very valuable thing, because there is like a backbone in the country to lots of services that we take for granted. And there are all these councils with officers working their socks off to deliver. And at the same time as they deliver, they are led strategically by residents like you and me, who are elected and make decisions as to how these councils work. So if we don't know who represents us, if we don't know how it works, we need to be aware that there are people out there making decisions for us. And those decisions might be the ones we like or not, but we're not having a say. So just to go back to your question, I believe that it is really important that we engage in local democracy so that we understand what's happening and what decisions are being made in our name.
Absolutely, and then we're paying for it effectively out of the council tax. So I know that it's not something we're going to cover on this show right now, but that you're looking to do some talks. But are you able to give us like a brief overview of what's the difference between a parish councillor and a district councillor, for example, and then you've got county councillors as well, and then our MP?
Well, I am devising a presentation because I want to just perhaps offer a talk about precisely that, who represents you. So at the local level, the parish council operates from the community centre here in Forest Row. 15 councillors are elected, and if they are not elected and they have volunteered, they become councillors. Their period of government or whatever is 4 years, and the parish council is up for election in May 2023. The parish council has the more local responsibilities like bus shelters, looking after community assets like the cemetery, the allotments, and there are about 7 responsibilities. They have to look after the dog bins and great bins. And however, the Localism Act in 2011 gave parish councils a lot of potential for action. And so what I hear has been happening is that up and down the country, there are parish councils that want to do the very minimum. They want to abide by what they have to do by law and do nothing more. And then there are the parish councils who want to work more with the community, support the community, respond to what the community needs. And they definitely have the financial possibilities to do that. So one can understand how there could be a lot of tensions in parish councils, because you can find the one parish councillor who believes that the least one does is the better, and another parish councillor who wants to really go out there and offer community services that the residents are asking for.
And so some of the big projects that the parish council have been very much involved in, with the creation of the new youth centre, for example, and also being willing to buy the land off East Sussex County Council for the dump, which sadly East Sussex County Council didn't allow the parish council to do. So that we do have a history here of taking on big projects that respond to the needs and desires of the community. I have to say, from my own personal experience, I found that there was quite a lot of voices, as you intimated earlier, that are, why are we doing this? We should be, it's not our legal remit. And I think there's almost two factions, and I personally believe they should go alongside perfectly. You need the people who are going to make sure that we have enough cemetery land and that the street lamps that we're responsible for are working, and those sort of admin type things are really, really critical, and God bless those people who enjoy doing that and making sure those things run. But I think you have other personalities in the parish councils who want to respond to the other needs of the community, which brings me to the gatherings that have been happening over the last few months, which I've been very much enjoying coming along to, and that you've been facilitating with a team of other local people who are keen to encourage local people to stand for parish councillors and to work together to have very much a strong focus on what the community wants.
I guess it's been conversations that I have had over 4 years, and hearing how people feel about the parish council, and I'm not going to go into critical mode or anything. I have just seen that people don't engage with their democracy. I didn't engage with my democracy. I stood for district council 4 years ago, really not understanding what it entailed. And just through this process of learning how much district council and county council and all these councils deliver, I started to think, well, it really is very important that we know about these and that we engage. So I was very active in trying to find a candidate for county council who would be working for the community. And I, in the same way, I have responded to conversations about, okay, what does the parish council do? What does the district? What does the county? And out of those conversations, people started to say, well, should we look to stand for all levels of democracy? And I follow the conversation. I listen a lot to residents, and I just make happen what I think people want to make happen. So in that same way, I have worked very hard to reopen the community, the recycling center. It wasn't possible. We have changed the strategy. We have opened the community shop as the first stage, and the second stage is very exciting because it's about consultation with the community to see which other projects we can invest on to reduce waste in Forest Row and to give residents the possibilities to recycle and be more aware about our waste and reduce our waste. In that same sense, the conversations about engagement in local democracy have been ongoing, and it has been a sort of very organic process. People who said, well, what are the levels? Okay, how does the parish council work? What does it do? And in that, I started, okay, I am a bit of a teacher, so I started to think, okay, let's do a presentation. I have offered the presentation. I spoke at the Hop Yard, and I have spoken to groups of people who asked me to go on and speak, and I am going to open it up more and more when I have the time. And out of that, a group of people have said, well, should we be standing for parish council? And I have offered the space with a group of other residents. There's nothing more than that, really.
But it's been interesting to see how people have engaged and become interested. And I know from my experience when I was a parish councillor, you mentioned earlier about getting voted in. If you don't have people standing, there is no election for the parish council in the sense that you have to co-opt people in and find people afterwards and go, and then they're kind of chosen by the existing parish councillors, which is not how democracy should work. So, and a lot of that was just people not realising that they should stand and not, you know, missing those particular posts on Facebook or just not being aware. So hopefully this time there's more people who are aware. There's the elections coming up and they realise unless they stand, there is no real local democracy because there won't be an election and people should choose who their parish councillors are. What's the best way for them to find out who is standing out? Is there going to be some hustings, for example?
Well, we have to see what happens. I mean, the best way to find... Let me tell you something. Before that, I guess the focus is let's engage at all levels of democracy. Because I guess the vision that I have is imagine a parish council that works as a team with the district council, with the county, and with its MP. Imagine all the levels of government, the political engagement, focusing on Forest Row, listening to residents, and actually making happen what residents want. So that's my vision. I just want all of us to engage and to know what's happening and to make Forest Row an even better place to live in. I mean,
and what's
it's already great.
Yeah, but it can always be better.
Yeah.
And what's key, of course, is the independence. So, and it's important for people who don't realise that in the parish council, whatever your personal politics, you leave that at the door when you and which is really important and not always easy to do, but something that is vital. And so there is no reason why, irrespective of people's individual political beliefs, they shouldn't be part of a parish council and then working, collaborating with a district and county council and their MP, even though the political affiliations of those different representatives may be quite diverse. Because at the end of the day, you know, what's best for your community is what's best for your community, irrespective of what's being played out on the political stage.
Yes.
It's important for people to acknowledge.
Yes, and I guess I would spell out something that we haven't said. You're referring to it, and it is that at the level of parish council, there is no party political affiliation. People just walk in as a resident and hopefully willing to listen to what the residents in Forest Row want and make that happen. Then at district, county and MP level, you do have party political engagement. And at district, I hear a lot of people, councillors, saying there shouldn't be party politics at district council either. And I can see the point of that, because the more local we are, the more we need to engage as human beings and express our views and express our points of view, and then find ways to move forward together for the best of the community. Yeah.
And what kind of projects do you see parish councillors being able to continue to be involved in? Obviously, there is the waste element. We've got ongoing individual groups who are doing amazing work. who perhaps could have more ongoing support from parish councillors if those councillors were themselves more engaged in what was happening. I'm personally aware of, with the transition in energy use, there's going to be huge implications for people on local levels, not to mention the trauma that everyone is going through at the moment with the financial crisis, really, which it is for many. There's a sense of powerlessness, I think, which isn't very helpful, because actually I don't see how we're going to make these big changes, irrespective of what different governments do, unless people come together and make things happen. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess that we are in a reality in which central government is taking resources away from communities. We have seen this for over 12 years, and communities are suffering for it. So the engagement that we need is for our local democracy and parish councils to listen and to see where the needs are, and then have a will to make something happen. Now, I guess when you were talking, I was just thinking about the fact that I was having a conversation with a parish councillor at some point in the past, and they were saying that they are volunteers. They work for free, and every time that a community project comes their way, that will be 4 hours of their week, or 5 hours, or 6 hours of the week. So I can see how parish councils are set up for, there could be conflict, because the government has devolved responsibility without giving the parish councils really the infrastructure to take on the potential take on the potential activities that they could. So you can have parish councillors that signed up because they wanted to get the allotments to work well, and then they get 50 projects from an exciting community like Forest Row, and they feel shortchanged, and then you add to that the fact that one would want to do the least, or perhaps do more, and so you are finding structural problems with the way that parish councils are set up. And I guess for me the interesting thing is, how do we sort that for the best of the community, with engagement from the community, and tackle issues that are really quite serious at this time, and central government doesn't seem to be engaging much with. For example, waste. Waste is growing. Waste is a global problem. We can, at the local level, try and see what we can do. There is, as you said, energy resilience. There is food resilience. There are all sorts of issues that could make our life much better. Affordable housing. How do we tackle that? How do we tackle the car parking problems in Forest Row? People are desperate. You hear the businesses saying, I want parking, of course. They want the cars to be able to stop and come and use their business. The residents are fed up because there's no parking available. People who come and visit, the parking is full. So there are issues that we see at local level that go all the way up to central government, and these problems are not being tackled. If we don't do it ourselves, who will?
Yeah, very true, very true. And I think,
and they're not easy things to solve.
No,
yeah.
but they have to be done through conversations and consultation, and not just going, it's not our problem, we can't do anything, and blaming higher up the chain, which I think is very much the culture that I've noticed. And in a way, by having parish councillors who not just are encouraged to stand, but to also have a shared vision, and which is something I wanted to ask you about, because everyone will have their own things that they're passionate about, but a shared vision certainly from my perspective, was very important, because that wasn't always there in my experience. People had very different visions about, what parish council was for, even. And it's a numbers game, isn't it? So unless you get a certain number of parish councillors who have a shared vision, it's so hard to move any projects forwards, even if you've got massive community support, because the voting, if it's not enough people voting for it, it's not going to happen. And so it makes it painfully slow and difficult to take on and tackle larger projects. And as you say, unpaid, time consuming. So I just wanted to talk about the support system for that, because that's the part I'm hoping to help with, because I think that's so important. It's one of the reasons I left, because there isn't a support system in place when you don't have hours and hours free every week to spend. But the idea of this shared vision, I think, is really important. And how do you feel that's developing through the coming together of members of the community, just to talk about potentially standing for parish council?
Well, the shared vision is a tricky thing, because first people need to learn about the processes, learn that they can stand. Then when they stand as individuals, they will need to engage. So that is a process that hasn't happened and would need to happen. And I guess then what you're talking about is the ways of working, because we can all have disparate ideas as to what we want to achieve for the community, and that's fair enough. But what is the way of working together? What is the way of listening to each other? Are we able to let go of our strong belief for the sake of the group, or are we there to just impose and not listen? It just brings it down to a human level. It brings it down to the relationship level, and I think that that is an exciting process to engage with, and definitely getting a shared vision would be an amazing thing. But we don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, so far, for those I've been along to, what's really struck me is that people have their different things that they're really passionate about. It's waste, energy, housing, parking, and not potholes, everybody. I mean, that doesn't mean we can't take on the potholes, but that definitely means we do have to connect well with district council and county rather. But what I found, or I've noticed, is that whatever their individual sort of passions are, the outcomes, the overall bigger picture vision, is to make Forest Row an even better place, and for everybody, not just for those who not for the few but for the many, to steal a phrase, but really making sure that everyone's thought about. So even there was a real consciousness I felt for people going, well, that's all right for those people, but not everybody has a car, and not everybody has likes using the internet, and there's just a real sense that just by everyone sharing the vision of wanting to put the people of Forest Row first, whoever they may be, that actually, I know it sounds corny, but that is a massive thing. And it's not, and although it's something that's been given words to, when I was at Parish Council, and I'm sure there are many there who do believe that, but it didn't seem to come through somehow. It often felt quite divided with people's views. And my feeling was we didn't have enough opportunities just to have a conversation and to share and to hear each other's perspectives. And this is something which is happening right now with people who haven't even stood yet. And for me, I think that's the sort of genius of it, really, is that giving people that chance to talk to each other, hear different views, so that if they do stand and if they do get voted in, they'll already be at a head start. And that would make the culture of being part of the parish council very, very much lovelier.
Yes, and
I'd be tempted to have another go if I wasn't so busy at the moment, but it certainly would consider at least standing in the future if that was the case, because that's for me was the big thing I struggled with the most, I think.
Yeah, Susie, and I haven't had the experience of being a parish councillor, but I guess I come at these things with great naivety, and I used to be a basketball player, and I love teamwork. So my dream is as I said, imagine a team of parish councillors, district councillors, county councillors, MP, working, listening, and making it happen together.
Yeah.
As a team. So that's really what drives me, and I respond to people's questions, and I engage, and I offer the information that I get. For example, I attended a local government association course in 2019 to learn how to be a councillor. It was a very good course, and we had the expert in local government talking to us about local government. So we invited him to Forest Row and had a bunch of people who have been asking about local democracy, and he explained things. And that's the kind of thing I do. I will facilitate and I will enable anything that I can help with to support local democracy and the well-being of Forest Row.
And really interesting people you've had coming in to talk, like Flat Pat Democracy, from Froome, where the independents came together and effectively did a kind of coup on the parish council. And also, if people come onto the list, their email list, they can find out when there's gatherings and meetings. It doesn't mean they have to stand for parish council, because my interest is how to be supportive of that process, and providing a sort of support network, and ongoing, just being part of a group where some interesting initiatives could spring up, which will be a great way to also join up the different areas, because you're very aware, aren't you? There's the River Medway group, there's the waste group, there's lots of fantastic work being done. And am I right in thinking that part of the vision is to allow those groups to have, be almost, parish council could potentially be kind of like a hub in a way, couldn't it, for all these wonderful initiatives, and supportive, and sometimes they can access grant money rather than being this thing over there that may or may not support what you're doing. And I think some people have had very difficult experiences and felt quite rejected, even though the work they're doing is very community orientated. And it just may be that the current mix of parish councillors, who's to say whether that really does reflect the village as a whole, because a lot of them haven't been voted in, because there haven't been enough people standing. So what to sort of round off with, what would be your clarion call to those who may consider not either standing or going along and making sure they bother to vote for the parish councillors?
I guess what I would say is, if you have any frustrations with the way that things are, don't feel disempowered. There is a way to engage with community. One of my big dreams or big lines of action is active hope, which is, let's not leave the hope for a better future in the future. Let's construct hope through our actions. So if you're disheartened, if you think that something needs to happen, engage with our community. We can do it at the local level. That will create more community cohesion. The more we know each other, the more compassionate we can feel for each other. And so step in and make happen whatever it is that you wish your community to happen. And bear in mind that there is a local government that is working for you. So harness the local government to make your dreams come true. And that's why I believe that engaging with local democracy is so important, because that is one way in which we can actually effect change and stop being so disempowered by what's happening in the world nowadays.